The Wealth Forge audiobook series, Dopamine vs. Dollars. Introduction. Two people earn the same income. They live in the same city. They work similar jobs. They possess comparable intelligence, education, and opportunities. Yet 20 years later, one has built substantial wealth, while the other remains trapped in a cycle of financial stress. Why? Most people assume the answer is knowledge. They believe wealthy people simply know something everyone else does not. But knowledge alone cannot explain what we see in the real world. Most people already know they should save more money. Most people know they should avoid unnecessary debt. Most people understand that investing consistently over time generally produces better outcomes than chasing quick riches. The information is widely available, yet financial outcomes remain dramatically different. The missing piece may not be found in economics. It may be found in biology. Every financial decision you make passes through a brain that evolved long before stock markets, retirement accounts, credit cards, online shopping, and digital advertising existed. The human brain was shaped in a world where survival depended on securing immediate resources, responding quickly to opportunities, and adapting to uncertain environments. That world no longer exists. Yet the brain that helped our ancestors survive remains largely the same. Today, that ancient wiring encounters a modern financial system filled with instant gratification, endless consumption opportunities, algorithmically optimized advertising, and rewards available with a single tap on a screen. The result is a conflict few people fully understand. A conflict between short-term rewards and long-term wealth. A conflict between immediate satisfaction and delayed gratification. A conflict between dopamine and dollars. This book is not about eliminating dopamine. In recent years, dopamine has become one of the most misunderstood chemicals in popular culture. It has been blamed for everything from procrastination to addiction to poor financial decisions. Many discussions reduce dopamine to a simple idea: the brain's pleasure chemical. Modern neuroscience tells a far more interesting story. Dopamine is not merely about pleasure. It is involved in motivation, learning, reward prediction, effort, and goal-directed behavior. It helps determine what we pursue, what we avoid, what we learn from, and what we repeat. In other words, dopamine influences many of the behaviors that shape financial outcomes. The purpose of this book is not to label dopamine as good or bad. Dopamine is neither hero nor villain. It is a tool. Like fire, it can be destructive when uncontrolled and transformative when properly directed. Throughout this book, we will examine what modern science actually says about dopamine and explores how these biological systems influence spending, saving, investing, entrepreneurship, risk-taking, and long-term wealth creation. Most importantly, we will explore how to intentionally align these systems with behaviors that create financial prosperity. This is where the Wealth Forge framework begins. The Wealth Forge is built upon a simple principle. Wealth is often created when dopamine becomes attached to progress rather than consumption. Many people unconsciously train their brains to seek rewards through spending, entertainment, novelty, and immediate gratification. Others learn to find reward in creating, building, learning, investing, and producing. The difference compounds over years and decades. This book is an exploration of that difference. At the end of every chapter, you will encounter practical applications designed to help you recognize how these forces operate in your own life. You will learn not only how dopamine can undermine financial success, but also how it can be redirected to support the habits, decisions, and behaviors that create lasting wealth. Because the ultimate goal is not to suppress your brain's reward system. The goal is to ensure that your reward system serves your future rather than sabotages it. The question is not whether dopamine influences your financial life. The question is whether you are directing it or whether it is directing you. Chapter 1. What dopamine actually does. The science. Before the strategy. Before discussing money, investing, debt, entrepreneurship, or wealth creation, we must begin with a simple question. What exactly is dopamine? Few biological terms have entered popular culture as rapidly as dopamine. It appears in podcasts, social media posts, self-help books, productivity discussions, and countless online articles. Unfortunately, many of these explanations oversimplify what modern neuroscience actually tells us. The most common explanation is that dopamine is the brain's pleasure chemical. While this idea contains a small piece of truth, it fails to capture dopamine's broader and more important role. Understanding that distinction is critical because much of this book rests upon it. If dopamine simply created pleasure, many of the financial behaviors we observe would make little sense. Why would people continue pursuing goals that require years of effort? Why would entrepreneurs endure repeated failures? Why would investors consistently contribute to retirement accounts they cannot access for decades? The answer lies in what dopamine actually does. Dopamine, the brain's motivational messenger. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that allow neurons to communicate throughout the nervous system. Dopamine participates in several important biological functions, including movement, learning, motivation, reward processing, and decision-making. For the purposes of this book, the most important role involves motivation and learning. Modern research suggests dopamine helps the brain identify opportunities worth pursuing and learn from the outcomes that follow. Rather than simply generating pleasure, dopamine appears to help answer a more important question. Is this worth pursuing again? That distinction changes everything. The prediction machine. Your brain is constantly making predictions. Every day, it evaluates outcomes against expectations. Did something turn out better than expected, worse than expected, or about the same? Neuroscientists refer to this process as reward prediction. When outcomes exceed expectations, dopamine activity may increase. But when outcomes fall short of expectations, dopamine activity often decreases. These signals help the brain learn which behaviors should be repeated and which should be avoided. Over time, this learning system shapes habits, preferences, and decision-making patterns. Long before financial markets existed, this mechanism helped humans find food, identify opportunities, and avoid danger. Today, those same systems continue operating within modern environments. The difference is that modern environments are filled with rewards our ancestors never encountered. Why this matters financially? Money itself has no biological value. You cannot eat it or drink it, and you cannot survive because of paper currency alone. Money matters because of what it represents: future possibilities, choices, and security. Financial success often requires sacrificing immediate rewards in exchange for larger rewards in the future. Saving, investing, or building a business. Learning a skill set or developing expertise. These activities often require sustained effort before meaningful results appear. The motivational systems associated with dopamine influence whether people continue pursuing those rewards when immediate gratification is unavailable. This is one reason financial success can feel psychologically difficult, even when the strategy itself is simple. The harm. When misunderstood or left unmanaged, reward-seeking behavior can contribute to impulse spending, compulsive shopping, gambling behavior, excessive risk-taking, constant distraction, or the pursuit of novelty over progress. In each case, short-term rewards compete against long-term goals. The issue is not dopamine itself. The issue is allowing reward-seeking behavior to operate without direction. The help. The same systems that can encourage impulsive decisions can also encourage wealth-building behaviors. Dopamine can reinforce consistent savings, investing habits, skill development, business growth, goal achievement, and productive routines. The difference lies in what the brain learns to associate with reward. When progress becomes rewarding, discipline becomes easier. When creation becomes rewarding, consumption loses some of its power. When long-term achievement becomes rewarding, short-term temptations become easier to resist. The Wealth Forge Principle. Dopamine is neither your enemy nor your savior. It is a tool. Uncontrolled, it can pull attention toward immediate rewards and short-term satisfaction. Directed intentionally, it can help sustain the behaviors that create long-term prosperity. The goal is not to eliminate dopamine. The goal is to align dopamine with outcomes that improve your life. The first Wealth Forge question. Before making any financial decision, ask yourself, am I pursuing a reward? Or am I building a result? Sometimes the answer is both. Many times, however, it is not. The ability to recognize the difference may become one of the most valuable financial skills you ever develop. Chapter summary. Dopamine is far more than a pleasure chemical. It is deeply involved in motivation, learning, reward prediction, and goal-directed behavior. These systems influence many of the decisions that shape financial outcomes. Understanding dopamine provides a foundation for understanding why people spend, save, invest, procrastinate, persist, succeed, and fail. Before we examine how modern financial systems interact with these biological mechanisms, we must first understand a deeper truth. The human brain was not built for modern money. Chapter 2. Your brain wasn't built for modern money. Two people receive a $5,000 bonus. Both earned it. Both worked hard for it. Both have the same opportunity sitting in front of them. The first person decides to enjoy the money immediately. A new television, a new phone, a weekend getaway, and a few nice dinners. Within a month, the entire bonus is gone. The second person takes a different approach. He places the $5,000 into a diversified investment account and leaves it alone. Nothing exciting happens. No new purchases, no celebration, no immediate reward. Assuming an average annual return of 8%, that $5,000 grows to approximately $7,350 in 5 years. But after 30 years of growth, it equals more than $50,000. The difference between these two outcomes was not intelligence. It was not income or opportunity. It was timing. One person received the reward immediately, while the other delayed the reward. That may sound simple, but modern financial systems have made this choice increasingly difficult. Every day, we are surrounded by tools, technologies, and financial products designed to make spending easier, faster, and more convenient than ever before. Many of those systems are not necessarily harmful on their own, but they do create an environment where immediate rewards are constantly available, while long-term rewards require patience. To understand why this matters, we need to explore a concept that will appear throughout this book, a concept we call dopamine debt. Most people understand financial debt. You spend today and pay later. The pleasure arrives immediately, but the cost arrives in the future. Dopamine debt follows a similar pattern. Dopamine debt occurs when we repeatedly choose immediate rewards that create future costs. Those costs may be financial, or they may be emotional. They may be related to productivity, opportunity, or long-term goals. The common thread is simple. The reward happens now. However, the consequence happens later. Not every purchase creates dopamine debt. Not every reward is harmful. The issue arises when we repeatedly transfer costs to our future selves without fully considering the impact. This chapter explores several ways modern financial systems make that easier than ever before. Why spending feels natural. One of the most important realities of personal finance is that spending produces immediate feedback. You buy the item. You receive the item. The transaction feels complete. The brain experiences a clear connection between action and outcome. Saving works differently. Imagine receiving a $1,000 tax refund. You could spend it on a vacation. You could purchase new furniture. You could upgrade your phone. Each option produces an immediate and visible reward. Now imagine moving that same $1,000 into an investment account. The money disappears from your checking account. Nothing changes in your daily life. No new experience, no new possession, no visible reward. Financially, saving may be the wiser decision. Psychologically, spending often feels more satisfying. This difference matters because wealth is frequently built through actions that provide little immediate gratification. Saving, investing, reducing debt, developing skills, or even building a business. The rewards often arrive months, years, or decades later. Why credit cards feel different than cash. Research in consumer psychology has repeatedly shown that payment methods influence spending behavior. When people use physical cash, they experience what researchers often call the pain of paying. The transaction feels tangible. The money leaves your hand. You physically see your available funds decrease. Credit cards reduce that experience. Digital payments reduce it even further. Tap-to-pay systems reduce it further still. Imagine walking into a store with exactly $500 in cash. As you move through the store, you remain aware of that limit. Every purchase feels connected to the finite amount in your pocket. Now imagine entering the same store with a credit card carrying a $15,000 limit. The products and prices are still identical, but the psychological experience changes dramatically. The spending friction has been reduced. Modern payment systems are incredibly convenient. Convenience is not the problem. The challenge is that reduced friction often makes spending easier than deliberate decision-making. The buy now, pay later reward from cost engineering. Perhaps no financial innovation illustrates dopamine debt better than buy now, pay later services. The concept is simple. Receive the product today. Spread the payments across the future. A $1,200 purchase may feel expensive, but 4 payments of $300 feels more manageable. The product has not changed. The total cost has not changed. What changed is the timing. Historically, reward and payment occurred together. Today, they can be separated. The reward arrives immediately. The cost arrives gradually. Again, the service itself is not inherently good or bad. The question is whether it encourages thoughtful financial decisions or simply accelerates consumption. For many people, the answer depends on how often they use it and whether future obligations are being carefully considered. Technology has compressed time. Modern technology has dramatically shortened the distance between desire and reward. For most of human history, wanting something and receiving it were separated by time. Today, that delay is disappearing. Want dinner, entertainment, or new shoes? Just open an app. Want information on anything you can think of? Open another app. The delay between desire and reward has become shorter than at any point in human history. This creates an important financial challenge. The shorter the delay between wanting and receiving, the less time exists for reflection. Reflection is often where good financial decisions occur. Impulse lives in the moment. Wisdom usually requires a pause. The modern economy has become exceptionally efficient at removing that pause. The real cost of dopamine debt. Let's return to the two people from the beginning of this chapter. Most people would say the first person spent $5,000. But that is not the entire story. The true cost was not just the $5,000. The true cost was what that $5,000 could have become. After 5 years, that $5,000 invest grew to approximately $7,350. But after 30 years, that $5,000 has almost grown by 10 times its original amount. The television was temporary. The phone became outdated. The vacation ended. The investment continued working. This is why dopamine debt can be difficult to recognize. The reward is visible. The future cost is invisible. Because the future cost is invisible, we naturally underestimate it. The Wealth Forge principle is simple. Every immediate reward carries a future opportunity cost. The question is whether that cost is worth paying. The Wealth Forge workbook. At this point, knowledge alone is not enough. Awareness must become action. This is why the companion Wealth Forge workbook includes the dopamine debt assessment. The purpose of the assessment is not to create guilt. It is not designed to shame spending or eliminate enjoyment. Instead, it helps identify where immediate rewards may be creating long-term obstacles. The assessment evaluates spending habits, credit card usage, buy now, pay later behavior, saving consistency, investing habits, attention management, impulse purchasing tendencies. Many listeners will discover that their financial challenges have less to do with income and more to do with behavioral patterns. The sooner those patterns become visible, the sooner they can be changed. If you are serious about creating a better financial future, this is an excellent time to complete the assessment and establish a baseline. You cannot improve what you have not measured, and you cannot redirect what you have not identified. The Wealth Forge tool. The future self-filter. Before making any non-essential purchase, pause and ask 4 questions. Would my future self thank me for this purchase? Am I solving a problem or satisfying an impulse? What future cost comes attached to this reward? If I waited 48 hours, would I still make this purchase? The goal is not to eliminate spending. The goal is to ensure your decisions are intentional rather than automatic. Small decisions, repeated consistently, create extraordinary outcomes over time. Wealth Forge reflection. Where in your life are you borrowing rewards from your future self? And what would happen if you started investing those rewards into your future instead? Chapter. Summary. Modern financial systems have become remarkably effective at reducing the friction between desire and purchase. Credit cards, digital payments, buy now, pay later services, and modern technology all make immediate rewards easier to access than ever before. While these tools can provide convenience and flexibility, they can also encourage decisions that create future costs. Dopamine debt occurs when immediate rewards repeatedly take priority over future opportunities. The good news is that awareness creates choice. When you begin recognizing these patterns, you gain the ability to redirect them. Because wealth is not built through a few perfect decisions. It is built through thousands of intentional ones. Chapter 3. The Economics of Attention. Every person on earth receives the same 24 hours each day. The difference is how those hours are spent. For decades, economists viewed money as one of the world's most valuable resources. Today, many business models are built around something even more valuable: your attention. The modern economy has discovered a simple truth. If a company can consistently capture your attention, it can eventually influence your behavior. And behavior drives spending. This chapter is not about technology being good or bad. It is about understanding how attention has become one of the most valuable commodities in the world, and why protecting it may be one of the most important financial decisions you ever make. Attention is a limited resource. Money can be earned. Time, however, cannot. Attention may be even more limited. At any given moment, your brain can focus on only a finite number of things. Every distraction carries an opportunity cost. Every interruption shifts mental resources away from something else. Sometimes that cost is small, but sometimes it is enormous. The challenge is that most attention costs are invisible. Unlike a credit card statement, attention rarely provides an itemized receipt. Yet attention influences nearly every financial outcome in our lives. Learning, working, building, creating, investing, planning, or problem-solving all require sustained attention. Without attention, execution becomes impossible. Why algorithms care about your attention? Most modern digital platforms are not primarily competing for your money. They are competing for your attention. The longer you stay engaged, the more opportunities exist to show advertisements, influence purchasing decisions, recommend products, or collect data that improves future targeting. In many cases, the product is not the content. The product is attention. This creates a powerful incentive. The more effectively a platform can keep users engaged, the more valuable that platform becomes. As a result, enormous amounts of research, engineering, and behavioral science are invested into understanding what keeps people coming back. Not because companies are trying to harm consumers, but because attention has economic value. The real-world example. Have you ever searched for a product online and then suddenly noticed advertisements for that product appearing everywhere? Perhaps you researched hiking boots, a new grill, golf clubs, kitchen appliances, or that lavish vacation destination you have been dreaming about. Within hours, it seems like the entire internet knows what you were thinking about. While the exact mechanisms vary, modern advertising systems are remarkably effective at identifying interests and delivering highly relevant marketing messages. This creates a powerful cycle. Interest becomes attention. Attention becomes exposure. Exposure increases familiarity. Familiarity often increases purchasing likelihood. The process is efficient because it is designed to be. The harm. The greatest financial danger is not necessarily the purchase itself. The danger is constant interruption. Imagine attempting to build a business, study a new skill, create a budget, or evaluate an investment opportunity. Every ding of a notification or product recommendation, each and every distraction, including algorithmically selected pieces of content, compete for the same limited mental resources. Over time, attention becomes fragmented. Fragmented attention often leads to fragmented progress. Many people believe they lack discipline. In reality, they may simply be operating in environments meticulously designed to continuously interrupt focus. The result is not only lost productivity, it is lost opportunity. Projects take longer. Learning slows down. Decision quality declines. Goals remain unfinished. And over time, the financial consequences compound. The help. Technology itself is not the problem. The same tools that create distraction can also create opportunity. Technology allows people to build businesses, access education, and manage investments. It also allows us to learn new skills, connect with customers, research financial decisions, and increase productivity. The difference is intentionality. When attention is directed, technology becomes a powerful wealth-building tool, but when attention is constantly redirected by outside forces, Technology often becomes a wealth-draining tool. The objective is not avoidance. The objective is control. Attention leakage. Within the Wealth Forge framework, we will introduce another concept: attention leakage. Attention leakage occurs when small, repeated interruptions slowly drain the mental energy required for meaningful progress. Most people would immediately notice if $20 disappeared from their wallet every day. Few notice when 20 minutes disappears multiple times throughout the day, yet both losses compound. One costs money, the other often costs opportunity. And opportunity eventually becomes money. The highest earners and most successful builders are rarely those who protect only their finances. They are often the people who fiercely protect their attention, because they understand where wealth is created. Not during distraction, during focused effort. The Wealth Forge Workbook. This chapter marks another important opportunity for self-assessment. The companion Wealth Forge Workbook includes an attention audit designed to help you evaluate where your attention is currently going. Questions include: how often do you check your phone each day? How often are you interrupted while working? How much time is spent consuming versus creating? How often do advertisements influence purchasing decisions? How much focused work do you complete each week? Most people track their finances more carefully than they track their attention. Yet one often determines the other. The goal of the audit is not perfection. The goal is awareness, because what gets measured can be improved, and what gets improved can compound. The Wealth Forge tool, the creator-to-consumer ratio. At the end of each day, ask yourself, how much time did I spend creating? How much time did I spend consuming? Creation can include working on goals, building skills, creating value, producing content, growing a business, or solving problems. Consumption includes passive scrolling, entertainment, browsing, and unintentional content consumption. Consumption is not inherently bad. Everyone needs rest. Everyone needs recreation. The objective is balance. But if consumption consistently outweighs creation, wealth creation often slows. A simple goal is to gradually increase your creator-to-consumer ratio over time. Wealth Forge reflection. If someone reviewed your attention for the past 30 days, what would they conclude was most important to you? Would the evidence align with your financial goals? Or would it reveal a different set of priorities? Chapter summary. Attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the modern economy. Entire industries compete for it because attention eventually influences behavior and spending. When attention is fragmented, progress often slows. When attention is directed, technology becomes a powerful tool for growth. Protecting your attention is not about avoiding technology. It is about ensuring that your attention serves your goals rather than someone else's. Because before wealth is built with dollars, it is built with attention. Chapter 4. Impulse spending. When wanting becomes buying. Imagine walking into a store for one item. You leave with 5. Or perhaps you open your phone to check the weather. 20 minutes later, you've purchased something you weren't planning to buy. Most people have experienced some version of this. The purchase may have been small. It may have been significant. But the experience feels familiar. The decision often feels spontaneous. In reality, impulse spending is rarely random. It is the result of a predictable interaction between attention, emotion, anticipation, and reward. If Chapter 3 explored how attention is captured, Chapter 4 explores what often happens next. The purchase, the science of wanting. One of the most important distinctions in modern neuroscience is the difference between wanting and liking. Many people assume they are the same thing. but they are not. Research suggests the brain systems involved in anticipation and pursuit are not identical to the systems involved in enjoyment. This helps explain a common experience. You spend days researching a product, watching videos, reading reviews, comparing options, and thinking about the purchase. The anticipation becomes exciting, and you finally buy the item. The excitement peaks. Then, within days or weeks, the product simply becomes part of your life. The anticipation was often more powerful than the ownership. This distinction matters because many purchases are driven by the pursuit of a reward rather than the long-term value of the reward itself. The brain becomes excited by the possibility. The purchase becomes the finish line. Once crossed, the excitement often fades. The real-world example. A man decides he needs a new grill. At first, it's a practical consideration. His current grill works, but newer models have additional features. He begins researching. He watches comparison videos, reads reviews, looks at photos, and checks prices. The more he researches, the more he imagines himself using it. The anticipation grows. Eventually, he purchases the grill. For the first few days, he feels satisfied. A month later, it has become normal. The grill may have been a good purchase, or it may not have been. But the important lesson is this. The strongest emotional response often occurred before the purchase was made, not after. Why impulse spending happens. Impulse spending often occurs when three conditions align. First, a desire is triggered. This may come from an advertisement, a recommendation, a conversation, or simply seeing something attractive. Second, the purchase appears easy. Digital payments, stored payment methods, and one-click checkout remove friction. Third, the future consequences feel distant. The cost is real, but it feels less important than the immediate reward. When these conditions combine, deliberate decision-making often gives way to emotional decision-making. This does not mean people are irrational. It means they are human. Emotional spending. Not all impulse purchases originate from excitement. Many originate from emotions such as stress, frustration, boredom, loneliness, or disappointment. In these moments, spending can feel productive. Something is happening. A decision is being made, and a reward is being received. The purchase temporarily changes emotional state. The challenge is that emotional relief is often temporary. The financial consequences may not be. This is why impulse spending is rarely about the product itself. Many times, the purchase is attempting to solve an emotional problem. Unfortunately, financial transactions are often poor substitutes for emotional solutions. How modern marketing uses urgency. Businesses have always encouraged customers to act. Modern marketing has simply become more sophisticated. Messages such as limited time offer, only 2 remaining, sale ends tonight, or almost sold out, are designed to increase urgency. Sometimes the urgency is legitimate. Sometimes it is primarily a marketing strategy. Either way, urgency changes decision-making. When people believe an opportunity may disappear, they often shift from evaluating value to avoiding loss. The focus changes. Instead of asking, "Do I need this?" people begin asking, "What if I miss out?" That subtle shift can dramatically increase spending. The harm. Impulse spending rarely destroys wealth through a single purchase. Its power comes through subtle repetition. A $40 purchase here, a $90 purchase there, an unnecessary subscription, a discounted item that wasn't needed, and an upgrade that wasn't planned. Individually, They may seem insignificant. Collectively, they can redirect thousands of dollars each year away from savings, investing, debt reduction, or future goals. The larger problem is not the money itself. It is the habit. Every repeated financial behavior strengthens a pattern. Patterns become habits. Habits eventually become outcomes. The help. Understanding impulse spending creates an opportunity. The same anticipation that drives unnecessary purchases can also be redirected toward wealth-building behaviors. Imagine tracking progress toward a debt-free goal, an emergency fund, a down payment, an investment milestone, a business revenue target. Anticipation works in those situations too. Progress itself can become rewarding. This is one of the most powerful shifts in the Wealth Forge framework. The objective is not eliminating anticipation. The objective is changing what anticipation is attached to. When people become excited about financial progress, wealth building becomes easier to sustain. The Wealth Forge principle. Every purchase asks two questions. The first is obvious. Can I afford this? The second is far more important. What future opportunity am I exchanging for this? Most people ask the first question. Wealth builders learn to ask both. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the impulse spending inventory. This exercise helps identify common spending triggers, emotional spending patterns, frequently purchased categories, high-risk spending environments, recurring financial leaks. Many listeners will discover that their spending habits follow predictable patterns. Once patterns become visible, they become manageable. The purpose is not restriction. The purpose is intentionality. Every dollar should have a purpose before it leaves your account. The Wealth Forge tool. The purchase pause system. Before making any non-essential purchase, follow 4 simple steps. Step 1. Pause for 24 hours. For larger purchases, extend the pause to 72 hours. Step 2. Ask yourself, do I need this? Or do I simply want the feeling associated with buying it? Step 3. Calculate the future value. If this money were invested instead, what could it become in 10, 20, or 30 years? Step 4. Make the purchase only if it still aligns with your goals. The objective is not to stop spending. The objective is to separate deliberate purchases from emotional reactions. Wealth Forge Reflection. Think about your last 5 unplanned purchases. How many improved your life long-term? How many simply satisfied a short-term desire? The answer may reveal more about your financial future than your income ever will. Chapter summary. Impulse spending is not primarily a money problem. It is a decision-making problem. Modern environments make spending easier, faster, and more emotionally appealing than ever before. Anticipation, emotion, urgency, and convenience all influence purchasing behavior. The good news is that these same psychological forces can be redirected toward wealth-building goals. The question is not whether you will pursue rewards. The question is where those rewards will lead. Because every dollar spent today is also a vote for the future you are creating tomorrow. Chapter 5. Lifestyle Inflation, the Invisible Wealth Killer. A funny thing happens to many people when they get a raise. For a brief moment, they feel richer. Then life adjusts. The new income arrives. The nicer vehicle suddenly feels affordable. The larger home payment seems manageable. The upgraded phone feels justified. The vacations get a little nicer. The restaurants become a little more frequent. The subscriptions slowly multiply. And before long, the raise that once felt significant has disappeared into a new standard of living. Nothing feels extravagant, nor reckless. In fact, most of the decisions seem reasonable on their own. That is what makes lifestyle inflation so dangerous. It rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive as a financial emergency. It doesn't trigger warning alarms. Most people don't even realize it's happening. Yet lifestyle inflation may be one of the most powerful obstacles to long-term wealth creation. Not because people are spending irresponsibly, but because increasing income often increases spending at nearly the same rate. The result is a strange paradox. Many people earn more money than they ever imagined they would, yet they feel no closer to financial freedom. Why? Because income increased, but margin did not. And wealth is built in the margin. The science of adaptation. One of the most consistent findings in psychology is that human beings adapt. A new vehicle feels exciting. A few months later, it feels normal. A larger home feels incredible. Eventually, it becomes the baseline. A promotion creates excitement, then expectations rise. Researchers often refer to this process as hedonic adaptation. In simple terms, people become accustomed to improvements in their circumstances. What once felt extraordinary gradually becomes ordinary. This adaptation is neither good nor bad. It is simply part of being human. The challenge occurs when spending continuously rises to maintain the same emotional response. Because if satisfaction continually resets, spending can become a never-ending pursuit. The target keeps moving, and wealth struggles to keep up. The real-world example. Imagine someone earning $60,000 per year. They receive a promotion and begin earning $80,000. Initially, the additional income creates breathing room. They can save more, invest more, reduce debt, and build financial security. But then small upgrades begin. A slightly nicer apartment, a newer vehicle, more dining out, additional subscriptions, and a larger entertainment budget. Nothing appears excessive, yet within a year most of the raise has been absorbed by lifestyle upgrades. The person is earning significantly more. But financially, they may not be much further ahead. The income increased, but the margin disappeared. Why lifestyle inflation feels good? Lifestyle inflation often disguises itself as progress, and sometimes it is. There is nothing wrong with enjoying the results of hard work. The purpose of wealth is not deprivation. The danger emerges when every increase in income immediately translates into increased spending. When this happens, the brain learns a powerful pattern. Higher income equals higher consumption. Over time, this can become automatic. Every raise creates new expenses. Every success creates new obligations. Every financial improvement creates a larger financial footprint. This is where dopamine quietly enters the conversation. New purchases, experiences, or upgrades. Each provides novelty. Each provides stimulation. Each creates a temporary feeling of advancement. The challenge is that the feeling often fades long before the payment does. Status and social comparison. Humans are social creatures. We naturally compare ourselves to those around us. Not because we are shallow, because comparison has always been part of how humans evaluate progress and belonging. The problem is that modern society dramatically expands the number of people we compare ourselves against. We no longer only compare ourselves to neighbors and co-workers. We compare ourselves to thousands of people whose lifestyles are carefully curated and selectively presented. The result is predictable. What once felt sufficient can suddenly feel inadequate. A perfectly reliable vehicle seems outdated. A comfortable home seems small. a successful life begins to feel average. Comparison quietly raises expectations. And rising expectations often lead to rising expenses. The harm. Lifestyle inflation rarely destroys wealth through poor decisions. It destroys wealth through perfectly acceptable decisions repeated over time. A slightly larger mortgage, an upgraded or expensive vehicle with a slightly higher monthly payment, and overall, this creates a more expensive lifestyle. The danger is not any single choice. The danger is that each new expense reduces future flexibility. Less money available for investing, opportunities, or for building financial independence. Many high-income earners are not struggling because they earn too little. They are struggling because their spending expanded alongside their income. The help. The solution is not to avoid improving your lifestyle. The solution is intentional improvement. Financial success should improve quality of life. The question is how much of each income increase should improve today's life versus tomorrow's opportunities. The most successful wealth builders often follow a simple principle. As income rises, spending rises slowly, but investing rises aggressively. This creates a growing gap between earnings and expenses. That gap becomes the engine of wealth creation. Over time, investments begin producing income. Options increase, stress decreases, freedom expands. Not because income grew, but because the margin grew. The Wealth Forge principle. Many people spend first and invest what remains. Wealth builders invest first and intentionally decide what remains should fund. The difference may sound small. Over decades, it can produce dramatically different outcomes. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the Lifestyle Inflation Assessment. This exercise helps identify income growth over time, spending growth over time, lifestyle upgrades, fixed monthly obligations, savings and investment rates. Many people discover something surprising. Their income has grown significantly. Their net worth has not. This assessment helps reveal where the gap exists, because awareness creates choice, and choice creates change. The Wealth Forge tool. The Lifestyle Gap Strategy. Every time income increases, choose a percentage for lifestyle improvements. Choose a percentage for future wealth. For example, a $10,000 raise could become $3,000 toward lifestyle improvements, $7,000 toward investing, savings, or debt reduction. The exact percentages matter less than the principle. The goal is ensuring that income grows faster than expenses. When this happens consistently, wealth becomes increasingly difficult to avoid. Wealth Forge Reflection. If your income doubled over the next 5 years, would your wealth double as well? Or would your lifestyle simply become more expensive? The answer may reveal whether you're building wealth or upgrading consumption. Chapter Summary. Lifestyle inflation is one of the most common barriers to wealth creation because it often feels like progress. As income rises, spending naturally tends to rise alongside it. The result is that many people earn more than ever while feeling little financial improvement. True wealth is not determined by income alone. It is determined by the gap between what you earn and what you keep. Protect that gap, because that gap is where financial freedom is forged. Chapter 6. Gambling, speculation, and the excitement premium. If I offered you a guaranteed $100 today or a 10% chance of winning $2,000, which would you choose? Most people immediately begin calculating the math. Others focus on the possibility. Some see risk, while others see opportunity. What's fascinating is that this question isn't just about money. It's about uncertainty. And uncertainty can be incredibly powerful. In fact, some research suggests that uncertain rewards can be more motivating than predictable ones. That may help explain why casinos exist, why lotteries continue to thrive, why sports betting has exploded in popularity, why speculative investments attract attention, and why so many people are drawn toward financial opportunities that promise extraordinary returns. The possibility of a big win is often more emotionally stimulating than the reality of a small and steady gain. That creates one of the most dangerous financial traps in modern society: the pursuit of excitement disguised as investing. Why uncertainty is so attractive? Most people assume they are chasing money. Often, they are chasing possibility. Possibility creates anticipation. Anticipation creates excitement. Excitement creates engagement. The outcome remains unknown, and that uncertainty keeps people coming back. Think about opening a gift. The excitement often occurs before you know what's inside. Think about waiting for a big announcement. The anticipation often exceeds the event itself. The same principle appears in many financial behaviors. A diversified investment account growing steadily at 8% annually is not particularly exciting, but a stock that might double next month is. A retirement account is predictable. A lottery ticket is exciting. A long-term investment strategy is boring. A speculative trade feels alive. The problem is that excitement and financial success are not always aligned. The real-world example. Imagine two investors. The first contributes $500 each month into a diversified investment portfolio. Month after month and year after year. Whether the market is up or down, whether the news is good or it is bad, he continues. The second investor constantly searches for the next big opportunity. A hot stock, new cryptocurrency, a market prediction, an exciting breakthrough technology that may surge. A sure thing. We think not, but the second investor experiences far more excitement, more headlines, more conversations, and more anticipation. But over long periods, research consistently shows that disciplined, diversified investors often outperform those who constantly chase opportunities. One strategy generates excitement, the other generates results. Unfortunately, the human brain often prefers excitement, gambling, and variable rewards. One reason gambling can become so compelling is the structure of the reward system itself. Most jobs operate on predictable rewards. You work, and you receive a paycheck. The relationship is clear. Gambling operates differently. Rewards are unpredictable. Sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes something happens. Occasionally, something extraordinary happens. Psychologists refer to this as variable reinforcement. The uncertainty itself becomes part of the appeal, because the next reward might be just around the corner. This same principle appears outside casinos. It can appear in sports betting, speculative investing, day trading, and even some forms of digital engagement. The brain becomes captivated by possibility. The lottery mindset. The lottery is one of the most fascinating examples of dopamine versus dollars. From a purely mathematical perspective, most lottery tickets are terrible investments. The expected outcome is overwhelmingly negative. Yet millions of people purchase them. Why? Because lottery tickets sell something more valuable than probability. They sell possibility. For a few dollars, people purchase a temporary vision of a different future. The dream becomes part of the product. The problem is that dreams rarely compound. Investments do. When investing becomes entertainment. This is where many people unknowingly cross a dangerous line. Investing should be about allocating capital toward future growth. Entertainment should be about enjoyment. The trouble begins when the two become confused. When someone checks their portfolio 20 times a day, constantly chases market predictions, buys investments primarily because they are exciting, or places trades based on emotion rather than strategy. They may no longer be investing. They may be consuming financial entertainment. The distinction matters because entertainment seeks stimulation, but investing seeks outcomes. The harm. Speculation becomes dangerous when excitement replaces discipline. The consequences often include excessive risk-taking, emotional decision-making, frequent trading, poor diversification, large losses, and abandoning long-term strategies. The irony is that many people enter speculative investments hoping to accelerate wealth, but instead, they delay it. Not because they lack intelligence, but because excitement becomes more influential than evidence. This is another form of dopamine debt. The reward is immediate, but the grave consequences arrive later. The help. Risk itself is not the enemy. Every meaningful investment involves some level of risk. Business ownership, real estate, and investing all involve risk. But the goal is not eliminating risk. The goal is understanding the difference between calculated risk and emotional risk. Calculated risk is guided by research, probability, and long-term thinking. Emotional risk is often guided by urgency, excitement, and fear of missing out. One builds wealth, the other often transfers wealth. The most successful investors frequently embrace a surprising philosophy. They prefer boring, because boring tends to be repeatable, and repeatable behaviors create compounding outcomes. The Wealth Forge principle. Financial excitement is not evidence of financial opportunity. In many cases, the more exciting an opportunity feels, the more carefully it should be evaluated. Excitement is an emotion. Wealth is an outcome. The two should never be confused. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the excitement audit. This assessment helps identify risk tolerance, speculative tendencies, investment habits, emotional decision-making patterns, fear of missing out behaviors, financial entertainment consumption. Many listeners discover that they are not chasing wealth. They are chasing stimulation. Recognizing the difference can dramatically improve financial decision-making. The Wealth Forge tool. The excitement filter. Before making any speculative financial decision, ask, am I attracted to this opportunity because of the expected outcome, or because of the excitement associated with the possibility? What evidence supports this decision? What evidence contradicts it? Would I still make this decision if nobody else knew about it? Will this matter in 10 years? The objective is not to eliminate opportunity. The objective is to separate rational analysis from emotional stimulation. Wealth Forge reflection. Think about the biggest financial decisions you have made. Which created lasting wealth? And which primarily created excitement? The answer may reveal an important pattern. Chapter Summary. Humans are naturally drawn toward uncertainty, possibility, and excitement. These forces help explain the appeal of gambling, speculative investing, lotteries, and financial shortcuts. The challenge is that excitement often feels more rewarding than patience, even when patience produces better outcomes. The most successful wealth builders do not eliminate risk. They simply refuse to confuse excitement with opportunity. Because wealth is rarely built through a single lucky event. More often, it is built through disciplined decisions repeated consistently over time. And while excitement captures attention, consistency captures results. Chapter 7. The Entrepreneur's Dopamine Trap. Most entrepreneurs don't fail because they run out of ideas. They fail because they have too many. A new business idea, marketing strategy, or new software platform. a new side hustle or product line, a new opportunity, exciting trend, or a promising shortcut. For many ambitious people, the most dangerous obstacle isn't a lack of opportunity. It's an endless supply of it. This chapter is not only for entrepreneurs, it's for anyone pursuing meaningful goals. Business owners, sales professionals, investors, creators, or builders. Anyone trying to create something larger than themselves. Because one of the greatest challenges in wealth creation is not finding opportunities, it's staying focused long enough to capitalize on them. The excitement of the new. Few things generate excitement like a new idea. A new idea feels full of possibility. There are no obstacles or setbacks yet. No difficult conversations or unexpected problems. No failures. Only potential. The imagination fills in the gaps. Success appears inevitable. The opportunity feels obvious and the future looks exciting. This is one reason new ideas can feel so powerful. The brain naturally gravitates toward novelty. Novelty attracts attention. Attention creates anticipation. Anticipation creates motivation. The challenge is that building something valuable eventually requires moving beyond novelty and into execution. That is where many people get stuck. The real-world example. Imagine a business owner who launches a marketing campaign. For 2 weeks, he is energized. He studies competitors, creates content, updates his website, makes sales calls, and tracks performance. Then results arrive slower than expected. The excitement fades, and the work becomes repetitive. The campaign no longer feels new. A few days later, he discovers another strategy, a different platform, a different opportunity, or a different business model altogether. He abandons the original effort and begins again. Months later, he has started 6 initiatives. None were pursued long enough to produce meaningful results. The issue was not effort. The issue was focus. Why execution feels different than ideas. Ideas are exciting because they provide possibility without responsibility. Execution introduces reality. Reality includes delays, problems, repetition, mistakes, learning curves, and even boredom. This is where many people unknowingly accumulate dopamine debt. They repeatedly collect the excitement of beginning while avoiding the discomfort of finishing. Each new project creates anticipation. Each unfinished project creates opportunity cost. The rewards feel immediate, but the results never arrive. Over time, this pattern can become incredibly expensive, not only financially, but emotionally, mentally, professionally, and strategically. Shiny object syndrome. Entrepreneurs often call this shiny object syndrome. A promising opportunity appears and attention, resources, and mass amounts of energy shift almost instantly. The current plan is abandoned before it has time to work. This pattern feels productive because activity is occurring. But activity and progress are not the same thing. Many entrepreneurs spend years moving from opportunity to opportunity while convincing themselves they are moving forward. In reality, they may be moving sideways. The danger is not a lack of ambition. The danger is an inability to remain committed once novelty disappears. Why consistency creates wealth. The marketplace often rewards consistency more than brilliance. The best investment strategy is often boring. The best sales process is often repetitive. The best marketing strategy usually requires time. The best businesses are often built through thousands of ordinary actions performed consistently. This creates an uncomfortable truth. The activities that generate wealth are often less exciting than the activities that promise wealth. Building requires repetition, repeating the fundamentals, improving incrementally, and showing up when motivation is absent. This is where real wealth creation begins separating itself from entertainment. The harm. The entrepreneur's dopamine trap can create several costly outcomes. Constant pivots, abandoned projects, incomplete systems, wasted resources, missed opportunities, lost momentum. The greatest cost is often invisible. Every unfinished project represents time, energy, and attention that could have been invested elsewhere. Many entrepreneurs assume they need a better idea. In reality, they may need a longer commitment. The help. Novelty itself is not the enemy. Innovation matters. Creativity matters. Adaptation matters. New opportunities should be explored. The challenge is learning when to explore and when to execute. The most successful entrepreneurs often develop an unusual skill. They learn to derive satisfaction from progress rather than novelty. Instead of becoming addicted to new ideas, they become addicted to improvement. A slightly better sales process. A slightly stronger marketing campaign. A slightly better customer experience. A slightly better product. The improvements may seem small. The compounding effect is enormous. Dopamine and achievement. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make is moving their reward system away from starting and toward finishing. Most people celebrate beginnings. Few celebrate consistency. But consistency is where results live. Imagine if the reward came from completing the workout, making that uncomfortable sales call, publishing valuable content, following a strategic investment plan, or improving the process. Instead of chasing the excitement of what could happen, the reward becomes tied to what is actually happening. This is one of the core principles of the Wealth Forge. Attach reward to progress, not possibility. The Wealth Forge principle. Ideas may create opportunity, but execution creates the wealth. The marketplace does not reward potential. It rewards completed value. The greatest business opportunities are often hidden inside projects that have already been started, but not fully developed. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the Opportunity Audit. This exercise helps you identify current projects, unfinished initiatives, active goals, new opportunities being considered, resource allocation, and focus leaks. Many listeners will discover something surprising. Their biggest obstacle is not a shortage of opportunities, it's an excess of unfinished ones. The audit helps determine where attention should be concentrated to produce the highest return. The Wealth Forge tool. The opportunity filter. Before pursuing any new opportunity, ask, does this align with my long-term goals? What will I need to stop doing to pursue this? Have I fully executed my current strategy? Am I attracted to this opportunity because it is better, or because it is newer? Would pursuing this create progress, or simply provide stimulation? These questions help separate genuine opportunities from dopamine-driven distractions. Wealth Forge Reflection. Look at the major goals in your life. How many have failed because they were bad ideas? And how many failed because they were abandoned too soon? The answer may reveal whether your greatest challenge is opportunity selection or opportunity execution. Chapter Summary. The entrepreneur's dopamine trap occurs when novelty becomes more rewarding than progress. New ideas create excitement. New opportunities create anticipation. But wealth is rarely created through anticipation alone. It is created through execution. The people who build extraordinary businesses, careers, and financial futures are not always the most creative. Often they are simply the most consistent. They learn to derive satisfaction from progress rather than possibility. Because ideas may open doors, but execution walks through them. Chapter 8. The Neuroscience of Delayed Gratification. The wealthiest tree in the forest wasn't planted because someone possessed extraordinary patience. It exists because someone was willing to think further into the future than everyone else. Years before the tree provided shade, before it produced value, and years before anyone could appreciate the result, someone made a decision whose reward would arrive much later. Wealth creation often works the same way. The challenge is that modern life rarely encourages long-term thinking. Most rewards arrive quickly. Purchases happen instantly. Most information is available immediately, and most entertainment requires no waiting. Yet, many of the most valuable outcomes in life still operate on a different timeline. Healthy relationships, meaningful careers, successful businesses, financial independence, and investment growth. These rewards often require years of effort before results become visible, and that creates one of the greatest psychological challenges in wealth building: the ability to delay gratification. Why waiting feels difficult. Imagine someone offers you two choices. You can receive $100 today, or $120 1 month from now. Many people choose the immediate reward, not because they are irrational, and not because they are bad with money, but because human beings naturally place greater value on rewards available now than rewards available later. Behavioral economists refer to this tendency as temporal discounting. In simple terms, we discount the value of future rewards. The further away the reward appears, the less valuable it often feels. This tendency affects countless financial decisions such as saving, investing, debt reduction, business development, and career advancement. The challenge is not understanding the future benefit. The challenge is emotionally valuing it. The real-world example. Imagine two employees begin working at the same company at age 25. The first contributes $500 per month into a retirement account. The second delays investing because other priorities feel more important: a better vehicle, vacations, lifestyle upgrades, and dining out. Neither decision feels dramatic at the time. In fact, the second employee may appear to enjoy life more in the short term. 10 years pass, then 20, then 30. Eventually, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. The first employee's money has been working the entire time, not because they were smarter, not because they earned more, because they gave compounding more time. Time often matters more than intensity. Small actions repeated over long periods frequently outperform dramatic actions taken sporadically. The marshmallow lesson. One of the most discussed studies in psychology involved children being presented with a simple choice. They could eat 1 marshmallow immediately, or wait and receive 2 marshmallows later. The study became famous because it appeared to connect delayed gratification with future success. Over time, researchers developed more nuanced interpretations of the findings. Human behavior is influenced by many factors beyond self-control alone. Family environment, trust, resources, and opportunity all play important roles. Yet one lesson remains highly relevant: the ability to prioritize larger future rewards over smaller immediate rewards often creates advantages over time. In personal finance, this principle appears everywhere. Spend now or invest, consume now or build, or upgrade now or save. The decision repeats itself throughout life. The secret behind compounding. Most people understand the concept of compound growth. Fewer people fully appreciate its implications. Compounding rewards. Consistency, not intensity. A single workout will not transform your health. A single sales call will not build a business. A single investment will not create financial freedom. Repeated actions performed consistently over time create extraordinary outcomes. This is why delayed gratification is so powerful. It allows compounding to operate. Every time someone chooses a larger future reward over a smaller immediate reward, they are effectively purchasing time. And time is one of the most powerful wealth-building assets available. Why patience is often misunderstood. Many people associate patience with passivity, waiting, doing nothing, or standing still. True wealth, building patience, looks very different. Investors contribute regularly. Business owners improve systems. Professionals develop skills. Entrepreneurs solve problems. And builders continue building. Patience is not inactivity. Patience is sustained action without immediate reward. This distinction matters. The goal is not waiting for success. The goal is continuing to work when success has not yet arrived. The harm. When delayed gratification is ignored, several patterns often emerge. Chronic overspending, insufficient savings, minimal investing, frequent financial stress, short-term decision-making, or abandoning goals too early. The common theme is simple. Immediate rewards consistently take priority over future opportunities. Over time, future opportunities become increasingly difficult to create. The help. This is where dopamine becomes a powerful ally. Most people assume delayed gratification means denying yourself rewards. The reality is more effective. The goal is learning to attach rewards to progress. Imagine celebrating a savings milestone, hitting your debt reduction target, staying on track with your monthly investing strategy, reaching an important business milestone, or achieving your largest financial goal. The reward shifts. Instead of receiving satisfaction only from consumption, satisfaction begins coming from advancement. This is where the WealthForge framework becomes transformative. Progress, growth, and consistency all become rewarding. And when consistency becomes rewarding, wealth creation becomes much easier to sustain. The WealthForge principle. Delayed gratification is not about saying no to pleasure. It is about choosing larger rewards over smaller ones. The objective is not sacrifice. The objective is multiplication. Every dollar invested, every skill developed, every productive habit repeated has the potential to create future rewards greater than the immediate gratification being surrendered. The WealthForge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the future self-assessment. This exercise helps listeners evaluate current savings habits, investing consistency, financial goals, time horizons, areas where immediate rewards frequently override future benefits. It also includes a future value exercise that demonstrates how small financial decisions compound over 5, 10, 20, and 30 years. Many listeners experience a powerful realization. They are not merely spending money. They are spending future possibilities. Awareness of that difference often changes behavior permanently. The WealthForge tool, the future reward framework. Before making any major financial decision, ask, what reward am I receiving today? What reward could I receive later? Which reward is larger? Which reward is more aligned with my long-term goals? What would my future self choose? The objective is not perfection. The objective is increasing awareness. Even small improvements in long-term decision-making can produce dramatic results when compounded over decades. WealthForge reflection. Think about a decision you made 5 years ago that improved your life today. Now imagine making similar decisions for the next 5 years. What might your life look like then? Because the future is not built by dramatic moments. It is built by repeated decisions made long before their rewards become visible. Chapter summary. Delayed gratification remains one of the most important principles in wealth creation. Human beings naturally value immediate rewards more highly than future rewards. Yet many of life's most valuable outcomes require patience, consistency, and time. The good news is that delayed gratification does not require eliminating reward. It requires redirecting reward. When progress becomes satisfying, consistency becomes easier. When consistency becomes easier, compounding becomes possible. And when compounding is given enough time, extraordinary outcomes often emerge from ordinary decisions. The future belongs to those willing to invest in it before they can see it. Chapter 9. Using dopamine to build better habits. Most people believe successful people have more motivation. The truth is often the opposite. Successful people frequently rely less on motivation and more on systems. Motivation is powerful, but it is also unpredictable. Some days you feel energized. Some days you don't. Some days you're focused. Some days you're distracted. If your financial future depends entirely on how motivated you feel on a given day, your results will likely be inconsistent. This is why habits matter. Habits allow progress to continue even when motivation disappears. And when properly designed, dopamine can help strengthen those habits. This chapter marks an important turning point in the Wealth Forge. Up to this point, we have explored how dopamine can contribute to overspending, distraction, speculation, and poor financial decisions. Now we begin exploring how the same system can become one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available. Why habits matter more than motivation. Imagine two people with identical financial goals. Both want to save money, both want to invest, and both want financial freedom. The first person waits until they feel motivated, while the second person follows a system. Every payday, money is automatically transferred into investments. No decision required, no debate, and no motivation necessary. 1 year later, who is more likely to have made meaningful progress? The answer is obvious. The system wins. Not because motivation is unimportant, but because motivation is unreliable. Habits create consistency, and consistency creates outcomes. The science of small wins. One of the most fascinating discoveries in behavioral science is the power of progress. Human beings are highly responsive to movement toward a goal. Even small victories can create momentum. Paying off a credit card balance, reaching a savings milestone, completing a week of disciplined spending, or increasing an investment account. These moments matter, not because they transform wealth overnight, but because they reinforce behavior. Progress becomes evidence, and evidence builds confidence. Confidence encourages repetition, and repetition creates habits. And habits create results. This is one reason successful wealth builders often track progress carefully. Not because they are obsessed with numbers, because visible progress strengthens commitment. The real-world example. Imagine someone decides to save $10,000. At first, the goal feels overwhelming. The number seems distant. The finish line feels impossible to see. Now imagine breaking that goal into milestones. The first $500, then $1,000, then $2,500, then $5,000. Each milestone creates evidence of progress. Each milestone reinforces the belief that success is possible. The objective hasn't changed. The path simply became visible. Many people fail not because their goals are unrealistic. They fail because progress feels invisible. Why financial goals often fail? Many financial goals suffer from a common problem. The reward is too far away. Retirement, financial independence, debt freedom, business growth, or investment portfolios. These goals may take years to achieve. The brain naturally struggles to stay excited about rewards that feel distant.
This is where many people abandon otherwise excellent plans.
Not because the strategy is flawed, because the feedback loop is too long. The effort feels disconnected from the reward. Without visible progress, motivation fades. Creating better feedback loops. The solution is not abandoning long-term goals. The solution is creating shorter feedback loops. Instead of focusing only on the ultimate destination, focus on measurable progress. Begin to track savings growth, debt reduction, investment contributions, business milestones, income growth, and financial habits. Progress provides feedback. Feedback strengthens behavior, and behavior creates outcomes. This is how dopamine can become a wealth-building ally. Not through giant rewards, but through repeated evidence that progress is occurring. Identity and financial habits. One of the most powerful shifts occurs when behavior becomes part of identity. Consider the difference between these statements. I am trying to save money versus I am an investor. Or I am trying to get out of debt versus I am someone who manages money responsibly. The second statement changes behavior because people naturally try to remain consistent with their identity. Financial success becomes much easier when wealth-building behaviors feel like part of who you are rather than something you occasionally do. The goal is not simply changing actions. The goal is changing self-perception. The harm? Many people unknowingly use dopamine against themselves. They seek stimulation from spending, scrolling, gambling, speculation, and constant novelty. The rewards are immediate, and again, the consequences arrive later. Over time, these habits strengthen themselves. The more frequently a behavior is repeated, the easier it becomes. This is why bad habits can feel automatic. The brain learns efficiency. Unfortunately, it does not automatically distinguish between beneficial and harmful behaviors. It simply learns what is repeated. The help. The good news is that the same process works in reverse. Every time you save money, invest consistently, reduce debt, track your progress, and improve your financial habits, you are strengthening a different pathway. Over time, these actions require less effort. The behavior becomes increasingly automatic. Eventually, financial discipline stops feeling like discipline. It becomes normal. This is where wealth creation becomes sustainable. Not because someone suddenly becomes more motivated, because the behavior becomes habitual. The Wealth Forge principle. Most people wait for motivation before taking action. Wealth builders take action and allow progress to create motivation. This simple reversal changes everything. Action first, and motivation second. Progress reinforces the cycle. The cycle strengthens the habit, and the habit creates the outcome. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the Wealth Habit Builder. This exercise helps listeners identify existing financial habits, habits that support wealth creation, habits that undermine progress, daily and weekly behaviors, habit tracking systems, Financial milestone planning. It also includes a progress dashboard designed to make long-term goals feel visible and measurable. Because what gets measured often improves. And what improves consistently tends to compound. The Wealth Forge tool. The Progress Scoreboard. Choose 3 financial metrics to track every week. Examples include savings balance, investment contributions, debt reduction, net worth growth, business revenue, monthly cash flow. Keep it simple. Track consistently. Review weekly. The objective is not perfection. The objective is visibility. Progress that can be seen is progress that is more likely to continue. Wealth Forge Reflection. Think about the financial habits you have repeated over the last year. If you repeated those exact habits for the next 10 years, where would they lead? Would they move you closer to financial freedom or further away from it? Because your future is often hidden inside your daily habits. Chapter summary. Motivation is valuable, but habits are more reliable. Long-term wealth is rarely built through occasional bursts of inspiration. It is built through consistent actions repeated over time. By creating visible progress, shortening feedback loops, tracking milestones, and attaching reward to advancement rather than consumption, dopamine can become a powerful ally in wealth creation. The goal is not to depend on motivation. The goal is to build systems that continue working when motivation is absent. Because wealth is not usually the result of one extraordinary decision. More often, it is the result of ordinary decisions repeated consistently for years. And that is exactly what habits are designed to do. Chapter 10. Gamifying wealth. Millions of people willingly spend hundreds of hours pursuing points, badges, rankings, achievements, and levels. They stay engaged because progress is visible. Every action produces feedback. Every milestone feels meaningful. Every level unlocks the next challenge. Now consider an average financial goal: saving for retirement, building an emergency fund, paying off debt, or investing consistently. Most of these goals take years, sometimes decades. The progress is often slow, the rewards are distant, and the feedback is minimal. In many cases, the strategy is sound, but the engagement is the problem. Human beings are naturally drawn toward visible progress. This chapter explores how to use that reality to your advantage. Because one of the smartest things you can do is make wealth building more engaging. Not by turning money into a game, but by applying proven principles that keep people committed to long-term goals. Why games are so effective. Games provide something that many financial goals lack: immediate feedback. Every action produces a response. You gain points, unlock achievements, advance levels, track progress, and receive the well-deserved recognition. The brain responds positively to measurable advancement. This isn't only limited to games. The same principle appears in education, fitness, business, sales, and skill development. People tend to stay engaged when they can see progress. The challenge is that financial progress often feels invisible. A retirement account slowly grows. An investment portfolio compounds quietly, and debt balances gradually decline. These are powerful victories, but they often lack emotional impact. As a result, many people abandon excellent financial plans long before the results become meaningful. The real-world example. Imagine 2 people trying to save $20,000. The first simply transfers money into savings each month. The second tracks every milestone: $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. and finally, $20,000. Each milestone is visible. Each achievement feels real. The goal hasn't changed. The amount saved is identical. But the experience is completely different. One person is pursuing an abstract number. The other is experiencing measurable progress. That difference often determines who remains committed.
Why financial goals lose momentum.
Most people do not fail because they lack goals. They fail because the reward structure is weak. Imagine starting a fitness program and receiving no indication that progress is occurring. No scale, no measurements, no strength gains, and no visible changes. Motivation would disappear quickly. The same thing happens financially. When progress remains hidden, commitment often fades. This is where dopamine can become a powerful ally. Visible progress reinforces behavior. Behavior produces results, and results encourage continuation. The cycle strengthens itself.
Net worth, the ultimate scoreboard.
Many people track their income, yet few track net worth. Income measures what comes in, but net worth measures what remains. Over time, net worth often provides a far more accurate picture of financial progress. A person earning $250,000 per year can still be financially fragile. A person earning far less may quietly be building substantial wealth. The difference is often found in what they own, what they owe, and how those numbers change over time.
Tracking net worth transforms wealth building into a measurable game.
The objective becomes clear. Move the number in the right direction. Month after month and year after year. Debt payoff momentum.
Debt reduction provides another excellent example.
Many people become discouraged because the total balance feels overwhelming. A $50,000 balance can seem impossible, but a $1,000 milestone feels achievable. Progress, momentum, and visible wins matter greatly here.
This is why many successful debt repayment plans focus on smaller victories along the way.
The financial math is important, but so is behavior.
People are more likely to continue when they feel successful.
Business and wealth creation. This principle extends far beyond personal finance. Successful businesses often use scoreboards. Sales teams track revenue. Organizations track performance metrics. And entrepreneurs track key indicators. The reason is simple. What gets measured tends to improve.
When progress is visible, attention follows.
When attention follows, action often follows as well. The same principle applies to personal wealth. If you never measure progress, it becomes difficult to improve it intentionally. The harm. Many people unknowingly make wealth building harder than necessary. They set goals. Then they hide progress. They invest consistently, but never review growth. They reduce debt, but never celebrate milestones. They save money, but never acknowledge advancement. Eventually, motivation fades because the brain receives little evidence that progress is occurring. The work continues. The reward remains invisible. And over time, engagement declines. The help. This is where gamification becomes powerful. Not because it changes the financial outcome, because it changes the experience. Visible milestones, progress tracking, scoreboards, targets, and achievements. All of these can strategically create additional feedback loops. The objective remains financial growth. The journey becomes more engaging. And engagement increases consistency. The Wealth Forge principle. People often underestimate the importance of making success visible. The brain responds to progress.
When progress becomes visible, discipline becomes easier.
When discipline becomes easier, consistency improves. When consistency improves, wealth compounds.
The Wealth Forge workbook. The companion workbook includes wealth scoreboards, net worth trackers, savings milestone charts,
Debt reduction trackers, investment contribution dashboards, business performance scorecards.
The goal is simple: transform financial progress from something hidden into something measurable. Because people are far more likely to continue a journey when they can see how far they've come. The Wealth Forge tool.
Build your personal wealth scoreboard. Choose 3 numbers to track weekly. You can track things such as your net worth, savings balance, investment contributions, debt balance, business revenue, or your monthly cash flow. Keep it simple and review it weekly. Celebrate your progress and adjust when necessary. The objective is not obsession. The objective is awareness. Because awareness drives improvement.
Wealth Forge reflection.
If your financial life had a scoreboard, what would it measure? And are you currently tracking the numbers that matter most? Because what you monitor tends to improve, and what improves consistently tends to compound.
Chapter. Summary.
The human brain responds strongly to visible progress.
Games understand this. Businesses understand this. High performers understand this.
Wealth builders should understand it as well. By making financial progress measurable, visible, and meaningful, you can increase engagement, strengthen habits, and create additional motivation to stay committed to long-term goals. The numbers themselves are important,
but the consistency they encourage may be even more valuable. Because wealth is rarely built through one extraordinary action.
It is built through thousands of small actions that continue long enough to compound. Chapter 11. Building a reward system around creation. The wealthiest people in the world are not paid primarily for what they consume. They are actually paid for what they create. Think about that for a moment. Nobody becomes wealthy because they purchased a phone, watched a video, or scrolled through social media content for hours. And for certain, nobody becomes wealthy because they consumed more than everyone else.
Wealth is generally created through value creation. Building, solving, producing or teaching, inventing, leading, investing, and improving.
The marketplace rewards people who create value for others. Yet modern life often encourages the opposite. Consume more, watch more, buy more, scroll more, or upgrade more. The challenge isn't that consumption exists. The challenge is when consumption becomes the primary source of reward. Because while consumption can feel good in the moment, creation often produces the outcomes people are actually seeking. This chapter explores one of the most important shifts in the Wealth Forge framework.
Moving from a reward system centered on consumption to one centered on creation. The consumption trap.
Consumption is easy, but creation is difficult. Consumption provides immediate feedback. Creation often requires delayed gratification. Consumption requires little risk, while creation requires uncertainty. This helps explain why consumption can become such a powerful default behavior.
After a long day, consuming content is easier than creating it.
Buying something is easier than building something.
Watching success is easier than pursuing it.
The problem is not that these activities exist. The problem is that they rarely create meaningful long-term value.
Consumption often ends when the experience ends. Creation continues producing value long after the effort is complete. The real-world example.
Let's take two friends, Danny and Felicia. Each have 2 free hours every evening.
Danny spends those hours consuming videos, entertainment, social media, browsing, and shopping. Felicia, however, spends those same hours creating, learning a skill, building a side business, improving a process, writing, selling, and creating content.
Neither person notices a significant difference after a week.
Perhaps not even after a month. But after 5 years, the gap can become extraordinary. The difference wasn't talent, and it wasn't intelligence. The difference was how their attention and effort were invested. Danny primarily consumed, while Felicia primarily created.
Why creation feels different. Creation often lacks immediate rewards. When someone starts a business, there may be no customers.
When someone begins investing, there may be little visible growth. When someone learns a skill, progress may initially feel slow.
This is one reason many people quit too early.
The rewards lag behind the effort.
But something interesting happens when people remain consistent. The reward system begins to change.
Progress, improvement, and mastery become rewarding.
The individual no longer relies entirely on external rewards. The process itself becomes meaningful.
This is where creation starts becoming powerful.
Creating value creates opportunity.
One of the most misunderstood aspects of wealth creation is that money often follows value.
People search for income, but the marketplace searches for value.
Businesses generate revenue by solving problems. Employees earn promotions by creating value. Investors grow wealth by allocating capital to productive assets. And creators build audiences by producing useful content. The common thread is not consumption. It is contribution. This doesn't mean every creator becomes wealthy.
But wealth creation almost always requires some form of value creation.
The marketplace rewards usefulness.
The harm. A reward system centered primarily on consumption creates several challenges. Attention becomes fragmented, skills develop slowly, and opportunities are missed.
Time disappears without producing meaningful assets.
Most importantly, people may begin expecting rewards without corresponding value creation.
Over time, this mindset can quietly undermine financial progress.
The issue isn't that people consume. Everyone consumes. The issue is imbalance. When consumption consistently exceeds creation, wealth creation often slows.
The help.
This is where dopamine becomes a remarkable ally.
The goal is not eliminating rewards. The goal is changing what generates them.
Imagine receiving satisfaction from completing a project, learning a skill, growing an investment account, solving a customer's problem, improving a process, reaching a financial milestone, or creating something useful.
Now the reward system is aligned with progress. The brain still receives positive reinforcement, but the reinforcement is attached to activities that create value.
This is one of the most important shifts a person can make. Consumers and creators. Every day, people move between two roles, consumer and creator.
Both are necessary.
Everyone needs entertainment, everyone needs rest, and everyone needs a little enjoyment. The objective is not eliminating consumption. The objective is ensuring creation remains a meaningful part of life. Many of the most financially successful people spend a significant portion of their time creating value.
Building businesses, creating products, solving problems, improving systems, and developing skills are all forms of creating. The marketplace rewards those efforts because they improve outcomes for others.
The wealth forge principle. Consumption feels rewarding in the present.
Creation often becomes rewarding in the future.
The challenge is learning to appreciate future rewards before they fully arrive.
This is where many fortunes are built.
People who learn to enjoy the process of creating often gain an enormous advantage over those who seek rewards only through consumption. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the Creator Assessment.
This exercise helps listeners evaluate their time spent consuming versus time spent creating. Skills currently being developed, value-producing activities, areas of opportunity creation, and personal growth investments.
Many people discover something surprising. They do not need more opportunities.
They need more creation.
The workbook helps identify where those opportunities already exist.
The Wealth Forge tool, the creation ratio.
For 1 week, track 2 categories: consumption and creation. Consumption can include entertainment, browsing, passive content consumption, shopping, and any non-productive screen time.
Creation will include learning, building, writing, selling, planning, investing, problem-solving, and producing value. At the end of the week, calculate your ratio.
The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness, because what gets measured can improve. And what improves consistently can compound.
Wealth Forge reflection.
If someone paid you based solely on the value you created during the last 30 days, how much would you earn? Would most of your time have qualified as consumption or creation? The answer may reveal where your future wealth is being built,
or where it is quietly being lost.
Chapter summary. The marketplace rewards creation far more than consumption. While consumption provides immediate gratification, creation often produces lasting value.
By intentionally attaching reward to building, learning, improving, solving, and creating, dopamine can become a powerful force for wealth creation.
The objective is not eliminating consumption. The objective is to ensure that creation occupies a meaningful place in your life. Because wealth rarely flows toward those who consume the most. More often, it flows toward those who create the most value.
Chapter 12.
Forging a wealth-oriented brain. Most people spend their lives trying to change their outcomes. Very few spend time changing the systems that create those outcomes. They want better finances, cleaner habits, better health, stronger businesses, and better results. But they continue operating within the same environments, routines, and decision-making patterns that produce their current outcomes. Eventually, frustration sets in. The goals are clear. The effort is real. But the progress feels slow. What many people fail to realize is that long-term success is rarely a willpower problem.
More often, it is a systems problem.
This chapter is about building those systems. Because after everything we've explored throughout this book, one truth becomes increasingly clear. The people who consistently build wealth do not necessarily have stronger willpower. They often have better environments, more efficient systems, stronger growth habits, quicker feedback loops, and better alignment between their goals and their daily behaviors.
This is where the Wealth Forge truly begins. The problem with relying on willpower.
Most financial plans fail for a simple reason. They depend on perfect decision-making. Every day, every week, every month, and for years. That is an impossible standard.
Life gets busy. Stress appears. Unexpected expenses happen. And motivations fluctuate.
No one performs perfectly forever. Yet many people build financial plans that assume they will.
The result is extremely predictable. When motivation fades, progress slows. When progress slows, frustration grows. And when frustration grows, people quit. The problem was never the goal. The problem was relying on willpower to carry the entire burden. The real-world example. Imagine two people trying to save $500 each month. The first person transfers money manually. Every month they must decide. Should they save? Should they spend? Or should they wait? Every month requires another decision. The second person automates the transfer. The money moves automatically the day after each paycheck arrives. No debate, no temptation, and no repeated decision. Both people want the same outcome, but only one has built a system. Over time, the system almost always wins, because systems continue working even when motivation disappears. Environment shapes behavior. One of the most overlooked influences on financial success is environment. We often assume decisions originate entirely from discipline. In reality, our surroundings influence behavior constantly. The apps on your phone, the notifications you receive, and the subscriptions you maintain, the people you spend time with, the information you consume, and the habits that surround you. These factors shape decisions long before conscious thought occurs. Consider someone trying to reduce impulse spending while receiving dozens of promotional messages every day, or someone attempting to focus while being interrupted every few minutes. The challenge isn't intelligence. The challenge is environment. The environment is constantly steering behavior. The wealth builder's advantage. People who consistently build wealth often make good decisions easier and bad decisions harder. They automate savings and they automate investing. They also reduce unnecessary friction around productive behaviors and increase friction around destructive ones. This may seem simple. It is. And that's exactly why it works. Success often comes from designing environments where the desired behavior becomes the easiest behavior. Reducing dopamine debt. Throughout this book, we've explored the concept of dopamine debt. Immediate rewards equal future consequences. Repeated time and time again. The objective is not eliminating rewards. Its objective is becoming intentional about them. A wealth-oriented brain understands that every reward carries a cost. The question becomes, is the reward worth the price? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it is no. The goal is awareness, because awareness creates choice, and choice creates change. Building productive dopamine loops. Many people unknowingly create loops that work against their goals. Spend, reward, repeat. Scroll, reward, and repeat. Procrastinate. Temporary relief, and repeat again. The process becomes automatic, but productive loops can be built as well. Save, track progress, feel accomplishment, repeat, invest, watch growth, feel momentum and repeat, create value, see results, feel the satisfaction, and repeat again. The brain learns from repetition. The more frequently productive loops are reinforced, the stronger they become. Eventually, wealth-building behaviors stop feeling difficult. They simply become normal. Identity, the final layer. Perhaps the most powerful transformation occurs when wealth-building becomes part of identity. Most people focus on what they want to achieve, yet few focus on who they need to become to achieve it. Consider the difference between these phrases. I want to save money versus I am someone who builds wealth. I want to invest versus I am an investor. I want financial freedom. versus I make decisions that create financial freedom. Identity influences behavior. Behavior influences outcomes, and outcomes reinforce identity. This creates a powerful cycle. The strongest financial habits often emerge when wealth building becomes part of who you are, rather than something you occasionally attempt. The harm. Without intentional systems, most people drift. Not because they are lazy or lack ambition, but because modern environments are filled with distractions, temptations, and competing priorities. Drift rarely feels dangerous, but over years, drift can become incredibly expensive. Small decisions repeated automatically create large outcomes, whether positive or negative. The help. The good news is that the same principle works in your favor. Small improvements repeated consistently create extraordinary results. Slightly better systems around saving and attention, or around investing, or slightly better investment habits and better environments. Small changes compound. The objective is not transformation overnight. The objective is creating systems that make transformation inevitable. The Wealth Forge Principle. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals provide direction. Systems provide results. When the two work together, progress becomes remarkably difficult to stop. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook includes the Wealth Forge Blueprint. This is where listeners begin designing their personal wealth-building system. The exercise covers financial automation, attention management, dopamine debt reduction, wealth-building habits, environment design, identity development, and long-term financial goals. The purpose is not creating a perfect plan. The purpose is creating a repeatable one. Because consistency always outperforms perfection. The Wealth Forge Tool. The Wealth Forge Audit. Evaluate your current systems in 5 areas: money, attention, habits, environment, and identity. For each category, ask, is my current system helping me build wealth or making wealth more difficult to create? Then identify one improvement in each area. Not 10. 1. Small improvements implemented consistently often outperform ambitious plans that never begin. Wealth Forge Reflection. If your financial future were determined entirely by the systems you currently follow, where would you be in 10 years? Would you like the answer? Or would you need to make changes today? Because the future is often hidden inside the systems you repeat every day. Chapter Summary. Long-term financial success is rarely a willpower problem. More often, it is a systems problem. The people who consistently build wealth design environments, habits, routines, and identities that support their goals. They reduce dopamine debt, create productive feedback loops, protect attention, automate good decisions, and align daily behavior with long-term outcomes. Because wealth is not built through occasional acts of discipline. It is built through systems that continue working long after motivation fades. And that is the essence of the Wealth Forge, a process of intentionally shaping your environment, habits, and decisions into a future worth building. Chapter 13. The Wealth Forge Blueprint. The goal was never to eliminate dopamine or to always avoid pleasure, and it's definitely not to become a machine. The goal was to ensure that your rewards serve your future instead of stealing from it. Throughout this book, we have explored a simple but powerful reality. The same biological systems that can drive overspending, distraction, gambling, impulsive decisions, and financial stress can also drive investing, learning, discipline, business growth, and wealth creation. Dopamine itself was never the problem. Direction was. The question has never been whether you experience rewards. The real question is what those rewards are teaching you to repeat. Because every repeated behavior is shaping a future outcome. Every habit, every purchase, every hour of attention, every financial decision, every opportunity pursued, and every opportunity ignored. They are all votes for the future you are creating. The Wealth Forge is simply the process of becoming intentional about those votes. The 5 pillars of the Wealth Forge. By now, you've probably noticed that wealth creation is not a single skill. It is a collection of behaviors that reinforce one another. At the center of the Wealth Forge are 5 pillars. Pillar 1. Attention. Everything begins with attention. Before wealth can be built, attention must be directed. Attention determines what you learn, what you notice, what you improve, what you pursue, and what you ignore. If your attention is constantly being redirected, wealth building becomes difficult. Protecting attention is not about avoiding technology. It is about ensuring your attention remains aligned with your goals. Pillar 2. Decisions. Small decisions compound. A purchase, an investment, a habit, or a financial choice. Most people focus on major financial decisions. Wealth builders, however, focus on the repeated decisions. Because repeated decisions create repeated outcomes. And repeated outcomes become a financial future. Pillar 3. Habits. Motivation is temporary, but habits are durable. The strongest wealth-building behaviors eventually become automatic. Saving, investing, tracking progress, learning, and creating. The objective is not relying on discipline forever. It is to create habits that continue producing results with less effort over time. Pillar 4. Creation. The marketplace rewards value creation, not consumption, not intention, not potential. Creation. The people who consistently build wealth often spend a significant portion of their lives creating value by solving problems, building systems, developing skills, serving customers, and improving outcomes. Creation transforms attention into opportunity. Pillar 5. Compounding. Compounding is where ordinary actions become extraordinary outcomes. A single investment matters little, but years of investing matter enormously. A single productive day changes little, but years of productive days change everything. Compounding rewards consistency, and consistency rewards those willing to think beyond the present moment. Eliminating dopamine debt. One of the most important concepts introduced in this book was dopamine debt. Immediate rewards result in future consequences, repeated over time. The purpose was never to eliminate enjoyment. The purpose was awareness. The most successful wealth builders learn to ask, what future cost comes attached to this reward? Sometimes the answer is acceptable. Sometimes it isn't. The difference is intentionality. A reward chosen consciously is very different from a reward chosen automatically. Building productive dopamine loops. Many people spend their lives reinforcing behaviors that work against them. The Wealth Forge encourages something different. Build loops that support your future. Save. Track the progress. Feel the accomplishment. And repeat. Invest. Watch the growth. Feel the momentum. And repeat again. Create value. See the results. Feel the satisfaction. And repeat it again over and over. The brain learns through repetition. Eventually, productive behaviors become familiar, and familiar behaviors become easier to sustain. The Wealth Forge Operating System. If you remember nothing else from this book, remember this. Wealth is rarely the result of a single decision. It is the result of a system for managing attention, making decisions, building habits, creating value, and allowing compounding to work. Every listener should leave this book with their own Wealth Forge operating system. Not someone else's, their own. One that fits their goals, their family, their career, their values, and their future. The real-world example. Imagine two people beginning today. Neither is wealthy. Neither has extraordinary advantages. Neither has perfect knowledge. The first continues operating as before. The second begins applying the principles from this book. Protecting attention, reducing dopamine debt, automating investments, tracking progress, creating more than consuming, and building systems. At first, the difference appears small. After 6 months, it's still barely noticeable. After 5 years, it's beginning to be significant. But after 20 years, it's life-changing. This is the power of compounding behavior. The gap is rarely created overnight. It is forged over time. The Wealth Forge Workbook. The companion workbook was designed for this moment. Knowledge creates awareness. Implementation creates results. The workbook contains the dopamine debt assessment, the attention audit, the opportunity audit, the creator assessment, the wealth habit builder, the wealth scoreboard, the future self-assessment, the Wealth Forge blueprint. These tools are designed to help listeners transform ideas into action, because information alone rarely changes lives. Implementation does. If you have not yet completed the exercises, now is the time. Not next month, not next year. Today. The best time to build a better future is before you need it. The Wealth Forge tool. Your 90-day Wealth Forge plan. Choose one improvement in each category: attention, money, habits, creation, or compounding. Keep it simple, keep it measurable, and keep it realistic. Then commit to 90 days. Not forever, just 90 days. Because dramatic change often begins with a manageable commitment. Small actions, repeated consistently, creating momentum. Momentum creating confidence. Confidence creating identity. And identity creating transformation. Wealth Forge reflection. If the person you become over the next 10 years is shaped by the decisions you make today, what decision deserves your attention most right now? Because the future version of you is being built whether you realize it or not. The only question is whether you are building intentionally. Final summary. Dopamine is not your enemy. It never was. It is one of the most powerful motivational systems ever discovered. Left unmanaged, it can pull people toward distraction, overspending, impulsive decisions, and short-term thinking. Directed intentionally, it can reinforce learning, discipline, investing, creating, building, and wealth creation. The difference is not found in the dopamine. The difference is found in the direction. The Wealth Forge is the process of aligning your attention, decisions, habits, and rewards with the future you want to create. Because wealth is not simply about money. It is about options, freedom, opportunity, peace of mind, and the ability to build a life according to your values. The rewards you pursue today are shaping the life you will live tomorrow. Choose them wisely, then forge them into something extraordinary. In closing, remember every day you are investing in something. Your money and your attention, your habits
and most importantly, your time. The real question is not whether you are investing, but what your investments are creating. Because the future is not found, it is forged.